Good afternoon. I call this Education Subcommittee of the Arts Commission meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chair Clevin.
Here.
Commissioner Hackett-Morgan, excused. Commissioner Douglas. Here. Commissioner DeSantis. Here. Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Are we in compliance with open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
All right. Item 3, public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, a report by Cultural Affairs staff regarding results of the educational workshop and mentorship survey. This affects all wards.
Good afternoon. This is Mary Sabo for the record. So we're going to go through a report of the data that we gathered from the educational survey that we put out. And real quick, I want to introduce to the subcommittee, we have our newest member of the public art staff here. Kushandra James is over there. And Kushandra's a painter, and she has an education and background, and she's been super helpful in compiling all of this info, creating the survey, and getting started planning some of these workshops. So, okay, so this survey opened up to the public on August 15th, closed on September 30th, and we had 110 responses, so pretty good. And we promoted this survey through our typical channels, newsletters, website, flyers, directly at some arts events, and thanks to the commissioners and subcommittee members for sharing with your networks as well. So I'm just going to go through some of the data that we collected. The survey was offered in English, Spanish, and Tagalog. We didn't receive any responses from the Tagalog survey. 95% of the responses were English. So the first thing that we asked is we wanted to get an idea of people interested in workshops, what their level of professional art practice was. So you can see here that the majority of folks that took the survey, the English version at least, were emerging, and then the second largest category was mid-career, and then we had 11% were identified as established artists. We then asked from a preset list of options what topics people would like to see offered in public art workshops. And the top results were developing proposals at 72%, artist calls, project planning and management, grant applications. Other highly selected categories were contracts and copyright, budgeting, and resumes. We also asked if people would be interested in participating in a mentorship program that pairs established artists with emerging artists to help develop professional skills. The majority of individuals answered that yes, they would be interested, and the majority of people that responded yes wanted to participate as a mentee. So we asked the same questions in the Spanish version of the survey and got pretty similar data results. The majority of responses were from emerging and mid-career artists. The workshop type question also saw some similar responses, favoring developing proposals, project planning and management, resumes, CVs, contracts, and grants. And for the question regarding a mentorship program, again, the majority of responses were yes, interested in mentorship, and then 100% of the responses wanted to participate as a mentee. And then in both the English and Spanish version of the survey, the majority of individuals wanted in-person meetings as opposed to virtual. The next question that we asked was asking people that were interested in potentially being workshop leaders what workshop topics they would like to present. And luckily, the results of asking what topics they would like to present aligns pretty well with the kinds of workshops that people want to see. So again, developing proposals and portfolios, project planning, budgeting, ranked highly, and then you see as well topics like painting and sculpture technique. And then we had a few write-in options you can see down there. Seeing and drawing, fiber arts, literary arts. Those were some ideas that people kind of threw out there. Pretty similar results for the Spanish survey. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we see this one is the workshop leader survey, and then here is the participant survey. So pretty well aligned. And then we also asked for any additional thoughts and comments regarding a public art workshop or mentorship program, and here are some highlights. And I will leave this up so you can take a look at some of these wonderful comments from the community and ask if any of the commissioners have any questions about the survey results.
I think this is really good feedback from the surveys, and I'd like to see others. I know these are probably the highlights, of course, but I think this really gives good thought to, how we could support our artists in Las Vegas. And, even though, Las Vegas is a world-class destination town, it'd be amazing to really build up these artists with a program and be able to, send them to other places or be able to connect them with other opportunities. Because I think over this very short time of just being an arts commissioner, I've been seeing these different like requests or the proposals from different people from across the world, Australia, different cities in America, different places, but how amazing to really, put our Las Vegas artists forward. So I'm really excited for this program.
This is Commissioner Clevin. For the staff, were you surprised by the results, or did you think that that met your expectations?
This is Mary Sabo. I was not super surprised with the results. I was really happy with the number of responses that we got. I was happy to see that people were interested in project management and planning, because I think that's a really valuable skill for working artists. And there's kind of a lot of focus, on the proposal process, but what happens after you get awarded a job, and that's I like to see the diversity there and what people were interested in seeing. And also happy with the amount of people that said that they wanted to teach.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Looking forward to going on to item 5 now, a report by Cultural Affairs staff regarding updates to the workshop program outlining goals.
Oh, just briefly before we get to the next item, what are the next steps now that we have the survey in place? What are we going to be doing with this to move forward?
Excellent question. And hopefully, I think in this next slide, maybe this will help answer some of your questions. This next presentation, I'm just going to go over some of the stuff that we've been talking about regarding next steps, and then hopefully I want to open it up to conversation with all of you as well for planning. So this is a report regarding some updates to the program outline and goals. Kushandra has been working hard on an outline and a kind of a calendar for programming out. And the survey results have also been super helpful for us for planning. So I just wanted to start off by mentioning some of the goals that we've been trying to keep in mind. So with this program, we would like to provide professional development opportunities to local artists, provide local artists and arts professionals with paid opportunities to lead workshops in their area of expertise, create environments to connect emerging artists with artists further along in their careers, encourage sharing knowledge across areas of expertise and artistic practices, and increase the number of art submissions by local artists. So we have a little bit of a timeline here and a rough program outline. So with our funding, the current fiscal year will end in July 2024. So we are looking at programming October 2023 through June 2024. So something we were playing with is the idea of 9 months and 9 workshop leaders. So here is a calendar, and this includes individuals that have already expressed desire to work with us. Subject, number of workshops, that's all TBD, but just in kind of talking with these folks about their availability, these are kind of some matches that we've made. And then our total budget is $25,000. And breaking down that budget for the following 9 months leaves us with around $2,500 to work with per month. And so thinking about that budget, that will need to include fees for workshop leaders, supplies, any rental fees incurred depending on where workshops are held. So with that in mind, some questions for the subcommittee members as kind of a prompt to kind of continue our conversations regarding next steps. Who else would you like to see on our list of workshop leaders? What do you guys think, should be prioritized in terms of topics based on survey results, thoughts on hourly rates versus day rates, and then also wanted to discuss offering bilingual workshops. So with that, I'll open it up to the subcommittee. Thank you.
Could you go back to the previous slide with the names and the months? Visuals help me. So are we still looking for 3? Is that right? Wait, 6, 2.
Potentially, we haven't, so we've been discussing a lot with Luis right now. Luis is interested in leading a kind of a panel discussion type of workshop regarding project planning and management. I think this subcommittee has mentioned, his name has come up before as someone that would be great for like a mentorship program or a workshop about public art. He's a very prolific public artist, homegrown. So I think we're talking about some dates in October that might work for him. Other than that, we haven't gone too far with some of the other names on this list, and it's all subject to change. There's also the possibility of, doing more than one workshop per month. These are all details that kind of need to get ironed out.
Commissioner Clevin, do you guys feel that one program a month might be too much? And I just want to point out it's October 19th, so I don't think the October deadline's going to work.
Yeah, I would agree with that regarding October. So we could possibly narrow it down to 8 months. I think that one workshop per month is doable. Any more than that, I think pushing it a little bit.
And what are some of your metrics for success at these workshops? Is it the amount of people that attend, the level of engagement, new people attending? I just fear that having one a month may draw out the, it stretches it, yeah. So if you want to have lots of people at them, you may want to do quarterly and then align that with upcoming projects. So for example, if people want to go over RFQs or RFPs, maybe have that the first or second quarter before you know that there's going to be more RFPs and RFQs coming out, so they can best prepare for that. So then you're going to reach a lot of people. Ideally, they're going to feel prepared to apply for the next round, which gives them a month to maybe a month and a half to fill out their applications. Just a thought. It's not that I don't want to work with all of these leaders, because I think they all have a lot of value, and especially if they're interested in doing these, I just want to make sure that we're giving them the biggest bang for their buck too, right? They want to see a lot of people, a lot of engagement at their workshops. Also, by condensing it to just 8 leaders in 8 months, then you have a little bit more money than the budget.
Thank you. That's all very, very thoughtful and good points.
Well, right now I'm seeing 7 on the list here. Were we looking to fill with other artists or speakers during that time? And what if we just had this during like a season of arts learning, maybe every other week or something? I think I was kind of just listening to what Jen was saying about, I don't want to dilute it and to have it go on for several months. I think that it's a great plan for next year. I think, October's a bit ambitious because we're already here and we want to give people time to know about this. And maybe this is something that we could roll out for the new year, because already we're coming up on the holidays. People are, going out of town. And so what if January was a good time to start with this program? Because then people have ample time to learn about it, know about it, sign up for it, and attend. And I guess I'm just curious about, where do we think these workshops would happen? Would we want to take because the City of Las Vegas has several facilities and community center spaces, maybe we should be utilizing those spaces instead of, renting other places, for these discussions. I think, just really utilizing the resources we have.
This is Mary Saba. I totally agree with that. Yeah, we do have a lot of facilities. Another thing too, some of these artists on this list, for example, Robin Slanina and Chase McCurdy and Isaac is affiliated with Recycled Propaganda. They all have their own art spaces, and they expressed a desire to hold the workshops in their spaces as kind of a means to also promote what they're doing on their own outside of these workshops. So I think like a mix of that is definitely a good idea. And I always like the idea of, bigger budgets for quality over, quantity, like putting more budget into fewer workshops than spreading it too thin. So I agree.
Do we have a certain number of participants that we're going to want to lean into? Because all those artists you mentioned have fine spaces, Arts District, downtown and beyond, but also, couldn't hold maybe more than 100 or have seating. I mean, I don't know if we'll get that many, but what if? What if this is something that, wow, I've really been waiting for this. I'm going to join, because I've attended a few meetings with Clark County, and I believe the City of Las Vegas too, when there's meetings over at the historic 5th Street School, and talking about, certain things like this, about how to write a proposal. And there was a lot of attendance and a lot of people who really wanted to dive in and learn about this.
Is it, Commissioner DeSantis, is it possible or is it planned for city staff to be involved with this at all?
This is Mary Sabo. Just from the administrative side, basically, what we've been doing, the planning, not so much the teaching of the workshops themselves, but I think the idea is that we would want to hire, with this budget that we have, the goal is to put that money towards local artists and arts professionals, and we would just be, support.
Commissioner DeSantis again. On the business side, which is, it seems to be, that's the interest, the business of being an artist and doing proposals, public art, and that's proposals that the city would look at. So if there were to be a way for the staff to provide samples for them to go by of proposals, RFQs, RFPs, I mean, it's because it's mostly business that the mentors, mentees are interested in. And I just thought that might be very helpful.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Clevin. So I think to Commissioner DeSantis's point, maybe it'll be good to select somebody like Luis, who has a really strong background in reading proposals and writing successful RFPs, and then working with you guys to say, you know, and maybe it could be from evaluator feedback that these were key points that made the application stronger, and then he can discuss that. So I guess maybe what I'm thinking is the staff can help the selected workshop leader just develop a little bit more of the content. But the selected workshop leaders, all of them have a lot of background in reading RFPs, RFQs, and being selected for awards. But yes.
Because I think the curriculum for these workshops should be uniform. You know, that if one is teaching, if more than one workshop leader is teaching the same subject, I just think for them to be successful, that it could be, they could work together on the points that they want to teach.
I think Commissioner Douglas, I think that Commissioner DeSantis has a good point in, you know, those other examples, because I know when I've looked at different RFPs, like let's just say, for example, a mural project downtown, looking at maybe 80 proposals, and there are some that are obviously very stellar and they get put into the top 10, but why? And I mean, I know why now, but even as an artist a couple years ago, not being privy to that information, I'm like, well, no wonder I never got in. I didn't have my graphics right. I didn't have all this information. My budget was not clear. You know, so I think if we can, you know, even pull from different, maybe, I don't want to say winners of these proposals, you know, like for different projects, like, I think that would be a really good example for people to see, because until others see it, you don't really know.
You don't know. And also, it would be easier for the commission and for the staff to select artists for different projects.
This is Commissioner Clevin. So why don't we look at some of the names of the workshop leaders and maybe align, maybe if we don't know them, or let's look at the topics that people said in the survey they want to see presented, and then select which ones, prioritize those, and then maybe if staff can align the people who have been selected. And can I ask for the workshop leaders, were these people selected because they said in the survey they'd like to be mentors? Or were they selected because they approached you guys in another way?
A mixture of both. The majority was from the survey itself. So we also, another great thing about the survey is that we collected contact information through that survey. So we can see, you know, on the back end of the survey, we can see who submitted which responses, and we have their contact information. So we can get in touch with people that were like, yes, I do want to be a mentor or a workshop leader, and we can also see what they said they would like to offer. Also, with that being said, that number of respondents, we have that contact information to then promote the workshops to those people that took the survey.
Perfect.
So kind of like a direct line of like marketing that to them,
Right.
which I think is also super helpful.
Right.
Yeah. And I do like the idea of combining like a staff, artist, panel, you know, to really get into the, like Commissioner Douglas was saying, the details of those proposal questions from both points of view.
So why don't we narrow down just some prioritized public art workshops? I'm just looking at the response, and so it seems like people are interested in developing proposals, artist calls and RFQs, and resumes and grant applications. I mean, I feel like these are topics people would be interested in, as evidenced by the survey they filled out.
Yeah, we will compile some info, and maybe at the next subcommittee meeting we can review it again.
Do we have an hourly rate? Do you have an established hourly rate for presenters, workshop presenters?
We don't at the moment. That's what one of the things I wanted to discuss today at the subcommittee meeting. One thing that we could do as an option is kind of taking a survey of people that we've worked with before and, artists kind of in our network and, discussing what the going rate is for something like that. And, kind of a median, an average. And, since we do have this budget, and if we
So yeah, I feel like depending on the workshop and how much time and new material they're researching is going to depend on how much their rate should be. But I also think it's okay to go to somebody and just ask them to present one of their winning proposals and then just really talk about why they applied, what was the steps of the application, and then the process of actually implementing the project. And that could be something that's just maybe not as formal as doing some new research, but just having a Q&A. And to get it started, maybe that's something that you want to kick it off with. I do think that Commissioner Douglas's point is valid to maybe push this back until January, that there's no reason to plan anything during the holidays. I don't know that we're going to get a really good turnout. But I also think, to her point, if 110 people replied, that may mean 110 people are going to show up to these things. So we may just need to allocate some additional space.
This is Mary Saba. I agree with all of that.
With the workshop, I think an hour for discussion, going through their process is very valuable. But one of the things that I saw lacking or missing from past presentations, this is years ago really, where I attended one, no, 3, was not actually getting your hands in it. Like, okay, so now that we finished this, let's talk about, and then everybody has their proposal. Oh, well, I'm writing a letter of request for this, or I'm doing this and this. And so the instructor can go around and like, all right, based on, my discussion, here's what you could do for this. So it's an actual workshop. Where people have their laptops out and like, all right, well, this is something I've been working on to bring it. So it is an actual workshop. So not, past the hour, but, having another 2 hours at least just to really get your hands in there. And I think there's something that was missing from the presenters, and I'm not sure who to put forward. I think, having artists lead workshops is really great and amazing, but apart from the survey, there are a number of people who want to learn about budgeting and financial. Do we have somebody who's, just a budgeting financial expert, may not even be an artist per se, but somebody who has worked within the arts communities that could lead something like that, because that is very valuable. And that is going to be a huge turnout.
Yeah, absolutely. I think bringing people in that are not necessarily just involved in the arts, people with, other professional experience could be very valuable too, especially for contracts and copyright, working maybe with somebody at UNLV.
This is Commissioner Clevin. I also think because 5% were Spanish speakers, I think it is important that we do at least one of the workshops in Spanish, or it's offered in both languages. And then, not to complicate things, but I do think maybe partnering with the library district to do a project at the East Las Vegas Library, you'll have a lot of good turnout, and then you might be able to point to some public art in that area that's being developed, and even talk about the banner project that's going on in that neighborhood. And then also you mentioned UNLV. I think that would be a great partnership. I know that BMI is already doing, I think they're doing an artist's statement workshop next week. So just tag teaming on things that are already they're already happening. You don't want to duplicate efforts, but really getting the city's name on it so that it's a stamp of approval. Okay, commissioners, any other item and discussion on this item? Okay, so we can move on to item 6, which is an abeyance item. Discussion for possible action regarding the development of a cultural appropriation workshop. This affects all wards.
This is Mary Sabo. This was an item from not our last Education Subcommittee meeting, but I believe the one before. Commissioner Douglas had asked that it be discussed at a future meeting, and then we obeyed it last time it was on the agenda because she wasn't here, so we thought we'd wait until everyone was here to discuss.
Yes, actually looking at the workshops and education, I'm wondering if maybe that could be something that goes into that, so more artists are more up to date on just, the terminologies, fair use, what's not fair, putting their art more to appreciation, versus appropriation. And again, this is to grow our artists that are, in our communities, because a lot of people just don't know. And I think it could be a really strong educational resource for our community.
This is Commissioner Clevin, I agree. So maybe that's something that can be added into the workshops. Okay, great. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, great. We'll move on to item 7, discussion regarding topics for future agenda items. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual members shall refer solely to the proposals for future agenda items. Any discussion shall be limited to whether or not such proposed items are within the purview of the subcommittee and or whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur and no action shall be taken. So it sounds like we need to add a touch point to review what we discussed in item 5 at the next education subcommittee meeting. So we can add that. Are there any other items?
I think maybe, would you all like to see maybe a revised schedule? Would that be helpful?
Of upcoming meetings?
Sorry, I meant like kind of a revised reworking of the workshop schedule.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yep, that would be great. And actually, just any outcomes of your guys' internal discussions, what you guys decided on hourly rates, day rates, what's going to be prioritized from the survey results. All right, hearing no other items, we'll go on to item 8, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the subcommittee. We're in the education subcommittee meeting right now. No subject may be acted upon by the subcommittee unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward and give your name for the record, the amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of any time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. So any citizens' participation for the Education Subcommittee of the Arts Commission? Seeing none, I'll move to adjournment. Thank you.
My name is David Reed, and I'm here to ask for funding for a mural at the historical Harrison House.
So we're just finishing the Education Subcommittee of the Arts Commission. We're going to get started in the Arts Commission meeting in just a minute. Thank you.